With the drop of Ashes of Creation on Steam this week, I got convinced to play by the boys, so I figured I'd give it a quick take on this video. Keep in mind this is a critique video, so I may be, a little bit nitpicky. A lot of people are likely asking though, is it worth the 40 bucks? Is the game promising? Is the gameplay loop, getting the dopamine flowing? So let's jump into some categories of discussion so I can attempt to, provide a little bit of structure to this video. Overall, the PvE combat feels good. I defaulted to just tab targeting like many MMO players will, so I haven't had, much time playing without this setting. And I'll be honest, the best way to describe the combat for me is a slightly more active, WoW combat. By more active, largely what I mean is movement matters a little more when it comes to PvE. There are consistently more abilities to sidestep or dodge, or for group farming, admittedly, you're kind of just walking in circles, dodging frontal cones. But, having something to pay attention to, like frontal cone cleaves every 5 to 10 seconds that you can actually sidestep, does keep your brain a little more active. Not dodging an equal level elite mob's attacks will mean you take a decent chunk of damage, so the attacks I've encountered are sort of appropriately dangerous to make me want to play actively. Now keep in mind I'm like level 11, 12 at this point, so what are the keybinds and abilities open to a level 20? That's something I don't fully know, of course. Right now I'm pushing buttons at a rate a little slower than once a WoW GCD, but the abilities I am using are all useful so far, so there's no dead abilities on my hotbar. And sometimes the abilities are even like synergistic with each other, which, okay, that's kind of par for the course now, but it does include that. Most of my frustrations while playing were things like early access visual bugs on the combat bar, things that were fixed with a relog, or occasional odd delays to abilities that I couldn't assign to the game acting a certain way, or my internet, or the netcode, or just things that felt a little bit choppy. It's worth noting that abilities like Blitz, which is like the charge equivalent for fighters, while while they feel awesome to use, it's probably the most buggy ability in the fighter kit currently, right? It's like it bugs out all the time. You press the button, your character goes through this weird animation, and then nothing happens. It's not that fun to use. So there's certain abilities for different classes, I'm sure, as well, that kind of feel clunky, and not quite done yet. Very early access. So the other pillar along with combat is movement, right? Movement is huge in MMOs. Maybe this is, again, the WoW gamer in me talking, as I've never played an MMO as snappy as WoW, right? I'm a little bit spoiled in that regard. But it is one of the first things I notice when starting a game, and it determines how the rest of the game plays to me. The movement in Ashes of Creation is sort of pretty good, in the sense that I don't have any major complaints, but there is a certain polish that feels missing still. When you're controlling your character, I'd say it's close to how snappy WoW can be. But if WoW is a 10, then AOC feels more like a 7, maybe an 8. An 8 probably is fair. Mounted movement is still a work in progress, though, it would seem. Okay. I'm gonna be real. Horse movement? Big hater.
Of how it turns left and right.
Yeah, that's what's. Oh, can I not talk to him while I'm on a horse? Yeah, okay, of course. The mounted movement is totally not bad or anything like that, but it seems there's some animations, most notably strafing and moving in the air, that need to be looked at on the same. In order for them to get in the same tier as their basic character movement is, they'll need to sort of fix a few of those things. Since you'll be getting on your mount like really early in the game, like pretty much right away, you'll be mounted when you're traveling. So I feel like they could leave a slightly better first impression. So what do you do when you combine your combat and your movement, throughout the world, is leveling. Leveling in AOC is arguably a bit grindy. I keep going back and forth if I would call it actually a grind, or just it sort of feels monotonous at times. Traditional quests are going to run dry pretty quick. You'll pick up a few deliver a box of chicken butts type quests from actual quest givers, and maybe even a slightly more exciting quest to investigate a caravan attack from an item drop. But they will run out pretty quickly if you pursue them exclusively from quest givers. Pretty quickly I ran out of quests that weren't, asking me to kill mobs twice my level. I would suspect higher density of some lower level stuff will be added in the future, but if you log in right now, you'll likely start running dry of reasonable quests in the starting area by, say, level 6 or 7. If you group quests, maybe that's a little bit different. The commission board mechanics seem to be the developer's solution to running out of quest giver quests. But with only 4 unique quests in the recommended starting location, one of which I could never get to work anyway, it feels like a very early access hole that I would hope that gets fixed sooner than later. Other settlements outside of the starting location did seem to have slightly more diverse rotations of tasks. I'll definitely concede that. And I think the advancement of those settlements will give even more, further diversity. Maybe don't quote me on that though. My suggestion for the easiest and most obvious solution would be the developers look into commission board tasks, especially in the starting locations, that involve developing other settlements more, instead of keeping them in the starting area sort of gameplay loop. Once you're about level 6 or 7, that's kind of when I feel like the grind comes in, maybe by level 8. When I was playing duel with my cleric friend, the most efficient leveling route we could find was just killing the same mobs and elites on spawn, you know, for 2 to 3 levels at a time, and then finding another spawn to sort of camp. Um, Group farming mobs for XP an hour seems very much to be the meta, and probably the developer intended way to level at this stage. It's definitely an old school MMO vibe, which I don't hate by any means, right? As someone who can embrace a lengthy grind, I don't hate it, right? The MMO players chase efficiency a little too often is potentially the problem, myself included, by the way, and it feels like an easy way to burn out a lot of players. The game needs more quests in it, in my opinion, especially to push you into like the higher levels, push people out of that starting zone more with quests. All right, next on my list is the system that I want to talk about the most, and that's because I fucking hate it, and that's the crafting system. It's entirely possible that I'm going about it all wrong. I'll admit I'm not like a big professions guy when it comes to MMOs, but I still like to make use of my resources and tools available to me, so I like checked out the systems available. And maybe I can make some buffs, some new armor, things like that. I like a bit of class fantasy too. So maybe it's just like a millennial brain or something like that, but the comeback in 5 minutes mechanics, they scream mobile fucking phone to me. It might be the association alone, but my reaction is visceral. Like, if I want to gather and craft, let me fucking gather and craft. Don't time lock me out of one thing. Is it an AFK game? I'm like baffled by the decision, I'll be honest. Like, yes, I can go gather or kill mobs while I wait, but it could be even cooler if I could just choose to focus on crafting with the materials that I've already gathered. I mean, you pair all that with the fact that every craft requires a purchased vendor item for each action, and I'm kind of fucking fuming. It's like there's no self-sufficient fantasy. Gather ore, put in the furnace, get bar. Nope. You need to buy smoldering ash from the vendor. 1 per ore, and then you can make use of your items. And I think this element really just fucking annoys me because it's paired with the time lock. But crafting as it is just kind of grinds my gears. And I understand, by the way, that for the vendor item, it's part of the tax mechanic and things like this. And I totally get it. And I'll probably see more benefits to it as I play the game further. But first impressions irked me. It's worth adding, I did make notice of some of the crafting items like Guild War declarations. I thought these were very cool to be part of the crafting system. Admittedly, I haven't declared any Guild Wars myself, so the specific mechanics are kind of unknown to me, but the idea of a big declared war is quite exciting, right? Like, large scale PvP is exciting as hell to me. Netcode is, of course, going to be the next thing to evaluate and how much fun will be had in large scale PvP and, the scale of that fun. But I definitely love the idea. In a pivot from the negativity of crafting, the PvP and flagging systems in the game I quite like. I immediately got popped after stealing my sort of like first loot pile and was so incredibly confused, but once I figured it out, I was a huge fan. So, like, what is stealing loot? In Ashes of Creation, when you die, you effectively lose XP and drop some of your loot. You can run back to your gravestone to retrieve your lost loot, but another player can also steal from your hot corpse pile. Stealing from another player's corpse, immediately flags you for PvP, which means other players can attack you with no provocation. You've been flagged as Mr. Bad Guy Thief, and now other players can freely take you down or, die trying. I kind of love the interaction this has the potential to create. Protecting your friend's dead corpse, a group of thieves being hunted down in a zone, people being dirty little rats at dangerous spawns. Like, I'm not 100% sure yet, but if like there's some big dangerous open world areas, our group's gonna get wiped and then rats run in and take all the things and everyone's flagged and big PvP fights ensue. I look forward to the social elements that come into play, and I'm in quite a few ways prefer it over a simple toggle to PvP system. As a basic conclusion, Ashes of Creation is quite promising. It is very much early access and comes with everything you'd expect from that title, but the bones are good. This is by no means every aspect that can be discussed in one video when it comes to AOC, but these were the first things that came to mind while I was playing. I'm going to keep an eye out on more from the developers in the weeks and months ahead. All this footage was captured on my Twitch stream. Check it out in the description below. I'll be streaming Ashes most of this week as I see what else the game has to offer. Come check it out. Let me know. Let me know if you disagree. And to make sure I'm a real YouTuber, like and subscribe to the video. Thanks very much.